All, welcome to TechTrapture. So in our previous videos, we already seen what is a Google App Engine and the difference between standard environment and flexible environment. So in this video, we are going to deploy a simple Python Flask application on a Google App Engine standard environment. Okay. So let's go to a Google Cloud Console and first create our App Engine environment. So now I am in a Google Cloud Console. So from here you can simply type App Engine and you can go to App Engine. So first see if we have any App Engine service created. If you do not have any service created and this is a brand new project, first you have to create App Engine environment. So either you can create from here or you can create from gcloud app create command, that is gcloud command. So I'll just create from the console, and that is the one time activity, and you can create only one application in a single project, but you can deploy as a different application as a different service within your app engine environment. So even though the name is application, it's referred to the app engine environment. Within that you can deploy your multiple applications. Okay, so I'll just click on create, and here you have to select your region. So you can go with the US Central 1 region and you have to specify the service account. Okay, so you can go with the app engine default service account, and if you want to create a custom service account, that you can create, but for this demo I'll go with the default service account. And if you are using for practice, sandbox or a dev environment, you can use this app engine default service account, but it is not recommended to use if you are using it for your organization or for a production grade project. So it's always recommended to use custom service account with only required permissions. Okay, so here I'll just go with the app engine service account. Region, you can choose whatever you want, so I'll go with the US Central and I'll click on next. So this is only one time activity in each project. Once you create app engine environment, then you can deploy your service here. So let's wait for a couple of minutes till the time we create our app engine environment. So it takes few minutes because it's a one-time activity in each project. So after that we'll start deploying our app engine service. Now your app engine environment is created, and this is the get started screen you will see. So you can use this command or this initial setup, but I'll do this later, and then you will jump onto your app engine homepage. So here you will see your app engine application has been created, and now let's go to services. So here you do not have any service. Okay, so first you have to always deploy a default service. So I'll just go to my VS Code now, and let's create a simple Python Flask application. So let me go to the VS Code now. So I am in my VS Code now. So here I have two folders. One is flexible, one is for standard. So this video we are going to focus on the standard. We are going to deploy our application in standard deployment or standard environment, and I'll just explain you how we can check if it is a standard, and how we can mention or where we can configure that I need to deploy in the standard environment or I need to deploy in the what we can say a flexible environment. Okay, so here I'll just go to the main.py. So this is our simple Python Flask application which will just return the message, hello, welcome to TechTrapture. I'll just add standard environment. Okay, so I'll just add welcome to TechTrapture from standard environments. I'll just save it, and first I'll show you locally how this will run. Okay, then you will understand what we should see when we deploy it on App Engine as well. Okay, so let me just run Python main.py. Okay, let me just go to the standard first, and now I'll just run Python main.py. So to do this, you should have Python installed in your system. If you do not have, you first need to install your Python, or you can use a Cloud Shell. So that is a best way. So in your Cloud Shell, you will have all the utilities already installed. gcloud will be installed there. Your Python will be installed there, and you will have the same setup like a VS Code if you open in the editor mode. Okay. So I'm into my Cloud Shell, and here you can just open editor, and it will have the same setup like your VS Code. So you can use this as well because it will have all the tools already installed. If I type Python hyphen hyphen version. So your Python will be here, your gcloud command also will work. Okay, so all things will be here, Google Cloud SDK. So you don't need to do additional installation if you are facing an issue in your local environment. So in my local environment, my Python is already set up, my Google Cloud SDK is already set up. If you want to know more about how to set up the Google Cloud SDK in your system or in local environment, you can just follow my previous videos where I already explained how we can set up a Google Cloud SDK in a Windows system. Okay, so I'll just close this for now because I want to show how to deploy the app engine. So you can use either from your VS Code or you can use from your Cloud Shell. So you have this option as well. But for now I'll go with the local. So here I am running my Python app and I can just go to this link. Okay, and this is how you will see. Okay, let me just zoom in again. So this is how you will see when we deploy the applications. So TechTrapture from standard environment. Okay, so now we have to deploy. Currently we are running it on my local system in my laptop, so I want to deploy it on app engine. So now let's see how we can deploy it. To create app engine service or to deploy it on app engine, you need app.yaml file. So this is your code, application code, simple Python Flask code. Okay, then you need app.yaml file. So here you specify a runtime. So you have multiple options to specify here, but mandatory is runtime. So I can just specify runtime. So I want to deploy my application on Python 3.9, and what I'll be needing to deploy this application, so I need a Flask. So I am creating one dependency file, that is requirement.txt, where I specify a Flask. So I can remove this as well. Okay, so or else you can keep no issues. So I'll just save it. And now how to deploy? To deploy, you need to specify a command gcloud app deploy. Okay, so one more thing I want to show you. So if you do not have a default service created in your environment, your any other service deployment will fail. So if you are not giving any name here in app.yaml, just like, okay, I'm just giving service and I'll give the name as simple app. Okay, so it will fail because first you have to deploy your default service. Currently you do not have any default service, so it will fail. So I will not choose any service name here. I'll first deploy without any service name. So by default it will create the service with the default name. Okay, and that is the default service. Now how to deploy? So once you have your app.yaml file here, so go to that root directory where your app.yaml file is available, and you have to type the command gcloud app deploy, and in which project you have to deploy. So you have to deploy, I have to deploy in project ttdev02. I am giving the project ID here, ttdev02. Okay, so I can deploy it, and let me just enter. So it will ask for confirmation with your initial details, that if this is the correct details. So it is asking, okay, this is your source, this is your target project. Now the target service, you can see by default it taken as the default, we haven't specified any name, and this is the target version, and this is your URL, and this is your default target service account. Now suppose I want to give the version name. So instead of this as a version name, I can specify my version name. So I'll just do v01. Okay, I'm not sure if it's the correct syntax. Let's see. Okay, now it is taking the target version is v01. So earlier it was taking the date time format, now it is taking the version number. So I am deploying with my v0 version. I'll just provide my confirmation and I'll just enter. Now it is common errors when you are doing for first time, you will get errors related to the permissions. Okay, so now you can see here it is uploading 3 files to cloud storage. Now where it is uploading, so whenever you are deploying to app engine, it will create one storage bucket, the staging bucket. Okay, let me show you. I'll just open in a new tab. Okay, so here you will see one bucket will be created, or it might already created as it uploaded files already. Uploading the file. Okay, and now you can see it created one bucket staging ttdev02, and when it created 22nd December 2024. So it created today only. Okay, so now let's go back here. Okay, it created two bucket, one is staging, one is dev02, and it failed. So why it failed? Failed to create cloud build, failed precondition, application error. So now you can see the error, service account does not have access to bucket. Okay, so it should have access to bucket. So I'll just go to this service account. It has given the name in the service account in the error. So if you do not see any error, or if you do not see any service account name in the error, you can find your service account name in a settings. You can go to settings, and you can see what is the default service account. So this is your default service account. Okay, so I will go to IAM and I will give a required permission to a service account. So I'll just simply go to IAM, and I will give a required permission. Okay, so I'll just grant access. I'll just look for this service. Where is this service? Okay, so now it is having the editor role. Okay, so let's see what is the error. Service account does not have access to bucket. So let's try again, because it's already having editor access. Might be the role creation was in progress. Now you can see it's successfully deployed, because that time might be a bucket creation was in progress. But yeah, if you are facing error, you have to validate if it is having access. So it is having editor role. It means it is having all the required access. Now you can see after this error we just retried again, and it worked, because our environment was brand new and we haven't created any service before. So that time you might face an issue. So first it updating the service, then setting traffic split for service done, deployed service done. Now let's see how we can check our service. I'll just go to setting here. So earlier there was no service. Let me go to the service now. Now you can see a default service. Now what is special about standard environment, as I said, can scale from a zero instances to the multiple instances. So based on the traffic, you do not need to do any kind of automatic, or you do not need to do any kind of a manual scaling here. Okay, so if I go to instances here, okay, so currently you do not see any instance here, because no one is accessing our application at the moment. What I will do, I'll just start accessing our application and I will show you the instances. So check here. So this version has no instance deployed. So we were on v01 instance. Okay, and it is showing no version deployed. Now let me try to access the service. Okay, and then we'll see if we get any instance here. So I'll go to service and I'll just deploy. I'll just access this default service, and it should show the message welcome to TechTrapture from standard environment. Now we got a bad gateway error. So this is a very generic error in Google App Engine deployment. So this error does not give you more information. So we'll go to versions, and in the versions you can check for the log. So you can just scroll right in the versions. So just scroll right here and go at the end. So here you will see the logs. So just open the logs here. In the logs you will see the actual error what error you are facing while deploying the application. So I just go to the logs and just sort on the errors. So now you can see all the errors while the deployment. So you can just check the error message here, and I believe this is related to start the instances while. So because the deployment was successful, we are getting error while accessing the application, because while accessing the application it will create the server at the back end and it is facing the error at the boot time of the server. Okay, so that all things we can check the logs. Now what I think, based on this error, this is related to the deployment, and during the deployment we might specify the incorrect incompatible version. So let me just expand and go to the requirement.txt where we have a dependencies, and here I specified all the versions specifically. So here 2.02, but in my app.yaml I am specified Python 3.9. So I am not sure if these versions are compatible with Python 3.9. So what I will do, I'll just remove this version and let Python 3.9 decide that which version is compatible. So it will take the compatible latest version, and I'll just save this and I will now deploy the application again. Okay, so let's deploy it again. Now application is being deployed, so let's wait for some time. Now let me cancel it. I'll run it again a version 2 instead of version 1. Okay, so we'll have a new version and we can compare the issues we faced with version 1 and how it is working fine in the version 2. Let me confirm it, and now the deployment is in progress. So files are uploaded now. It's updating the service. So let's see how much time it will take, and once done we'll go back and validate our deployment. Okay, so it's updating service now. Okay, splitting traffic to the newer version. So I'll go back to services again and check if we have a new version. So version 2 you can see available with the 100% traffic. So here you can see a 0 instances because we haven't accessed the application yet. So you can see the 0 instances here. Now I'll just go. So here it is not showing because we haven't accessed our application yet, so it will not show here. So we'll go to versions and we'll try to access this application on a version 2. Okay, so it will not show until the instance is created here. So deployment is complete now. So I'll just go back and I'll just reload this page. So earlier it was not working. Now it should work and display the welcome to TechTrapture message here, and you can see hello world, welcome to TechTrapture from standard environment. So our deployment is successful and our application is running fine and printing this message. Now let's go back to the version and let's see if our version 2 is showing now, and let's see how much instances it is showing. So this 0 is showing incorrect, that is the known issue for the app engine. So we'll go here in the versions, just select our version 2, and here you can see our new instance is available here, and currently 2 requests are served by this new instance. So you can see the availability type dynamics. So it will auto scale based on the request, so you don't need to worry about how much instances we need. So based on the traffic it will auto scale. So now again let me go and just serve more requests. So it was 2 earlier, I'll just reload it couple of more times, and let's see, it should turn to 4 now. Once I refresh, so it should show 4 requests now. So it will count all your requests, all your logs. So this is completely managed and you don't need to worry about all kind of these monitoring, loggings and tracking the request. Okay, so one more thing, it will scale down as well when there are no requests. So currently it is showing 1 instance, but if there is no traffic on the instance, it will wait for some time and eventually it will scale down to 0 instances here. Okay, now let's go to services and check the available versions. So currently we are having 2 versions. Version 1, which was errored out earlier because of the deployment issue in the requirement.txt, and this is our current working version, which is a v02, where 100% of traffic is being served by the this version, and none of the traffic is going to earlier version, that is version 1. Now what I will do, I'll just go back to my code and I'll try to deploy a version 3. So I'll just change the display message to distinguish between version 2 and 3, and I'll just mention a version 3 here, and I will deploy this version with a version 3. Okay, so let's deploy this version 3. Just wait for prompt and I'll just confirm once I get this prompt. Okay, I'll just confirm here. Now you can see the version 3 here. And else what I will do, so whenever we deploy a newer version, by default it set traffic to the newer version. So here you can see in our log, so it's splitting the traffic to the newer version. So for this what I will do, I'll just cancel it for now, and I will add a additional flag, that is no promote. Okay, so what will happen, my new versions will be deployed with version 3. Traffic will be still routed to the version 2 until and unless I'll just complete all my testing, and then I'll migrate my complete traffic to the version 3. So I'll just added the flag and I'm deploying the version 3 now. So currently you see there are only two versions, version 1 and version 2, and the message you can see here for version 2. Now let's see if we see a version 3 here in sometimes, and the traffic also will be 0 on version 3 and all traffic should be on a version 2 itself. So it is updating the service, but here it will not show the splitting traffic. Now you can see it only showed a deployed service. It did not show splitting traffic as in the earlier version where we did not use the flag. It was showing the splitting traffic as well. Okay, but here it is just only a updating service, and it did not show the splitting traffic because we used a flag to no promote. Now let's refresh and check if we have a version 3. You can see version 3 is here, but currently there is no traffic on the version 3, and this is still pointing to my older version, that is version 2. Okay, now let me just try to access version 3 directly, and this is the message we updated, that this is the traffic from version 3. Okay, now I'll do testing on version 3 if everything looks good. Okay, and once everything looks good, what I can do, I just want few of my users to access the version 3 and few of users to access version 2. So I'll just select that and split the traffic between version 1 and version 2. So how I will split, so I'll split it based on the percentage, 50%, and also the splitting method I'll just keep as a random split. So at the top there are multiple options, split by IP address, cookies, or random. I'll go with a random, so I'll explain all these methods separately in another video, but here I'll just go with the random and I'll just update my service. Now once this updated, so what will happen, all my traffic will go randomly to the version 1, to the version 2 and version 3. Okay, so we split it between 2 and 3, so dynamically it will just send the traffic 50% to version 2 and 50% to version 3. Let's validate that. So let's go to our service, open a default service here, okay, from the main URL, and on the default service currently this is from the version 2. Let me reload. So I got response from version 3. Okay, now I got again from version 3, I got from version 2. So it will randomly split your traffic between these two version 2 and version 3. Now I validated the version 3 and it is working fine. Now I want to migrate all my traffic to newer version, and all users should access the newer version. So I'll just click on the my latest version 3, and instead of split I will do a migrate traffic. So it will just ask us to confirm that all traffic will be migrated to your newer version, and then I'll migrate it. So instead of 50%, now you will see 100% traffic will be on a version 3. Okay, and if I access from the browser, so you should only see the message from the version 3, and none of the traffic will be served from the version 2 or version 1. Now you can see 100% traffic on version 3. Let me reload. So now every time you will get response only from a version 3, and you will not get any of the response from a version 2 here. Okay, so hope you understood now how we can deploy application to App Engine standard environment, and we'll work on the traffic splitting between version 1 and a version